What's going on, my fellow Jedi and Padawans? Welcome back to another Jedi gaming video. Thank you guys so much for coming back to the channel, and if you guys are new, welcome. Today, I know you've probably seen this around the community, but this is my take on it, making the nice Osteo Striga Strand Warlock build that suspends everything in its path, gives you your abilities back super fast while creating those orbs of power everywhere for you and your fellow guardians. So starting out right here for our abilities, aspects, and fragments, we're going to be using our Healing Rift with our Burst Glide, our nice Arcane Needle, which we do have 3 of them that get to stack up, that also apply that nice Necrotic Grip damage with that Osteo Striga as well. Now for this build specifically, be sure to have your Shackle Grenade on so you can use it to suspend enemies, plus it comes in handy with our aspect in a second here. The aspect that I am talking about is Mind Spun Invocation. So your Grapple, Shackle, and Thread Grenades have enhanced functions. So right here it says when you consume your Shackle Grenade, so you hold your grenade button, it activates Weaver's Trance. Final Blows while Weaver's Trance is active creates a suspending detonation. So that is why this pairs so good with Osteo, because all of that poison burn that is also spreading through these enemies creates that nice suspension burst when that poison gets the defeat as well. So it is an ad clear machine, plus you can keep ads at bay super easily with the suspend of this build, and like I said, that's why we're using our Shackle Grenade so we can consume it. Now for our second aspect, we only have 2 as of now, but we're casting our Rift to create those nice 3 Threadlings that attack the enemies, and we're using some fragments that also make these bad boys very good in my opinion for the PvE realm. Threadlings are pretty nasty as well, especially on the Warlock. Now starting out with fragments right here, this one is second most important of this build with Thread of Continuity. Suspend effects applied to targets have increased duration, so this is helping with all of those suspends that we're creating with that nice burst from those defeats with consuming our grenade. Now next off we have the Thread of Evolution, so those Threadlings travel farther and deal additional damage. We're getting those from our aspect here in Weaver's Call when we throw down our Rift. Now easily the most important part of this build fragment wise is the Thread of Generation. Dealing damage generates grenade energy, so that means all of the damage that Osteo is creating with those necrotic grips and that poison spread counts as damage dealt, so you're getting your Shackle Grenade back so fast, and the timer for when you consume it is 25 seconds for that Weaver's Trance, so you can get your grenade back easily before that 25 seconds, throw it, and even probably get back a second one before Weaver's Trance goes away, and then consuming it and just start that process all over again. What makes this build so crazy good. Now last but certainly not least, we have Thread of Mind, so defeating suspended targets also grants us class energy. So this right here is absolutely nasty for this build because there is suspend going on everywhere, so you can see we get our class ability back very quickly just by getting those defeats on the suspended targets, allowing us to have even more of those Threadlings, plus we get some things to proc on our armor mods as well. So moving on to these weapons right here that make this build so good and also unique to me is, first off, obviously we have to have that Osteo Striga with the Toxic Overload and those nice Streak Catalysts that give us that toxic spread as well as that nice tracing for those bullets. Pairs perfectly with Necrotic Grips, so all of that poison is synergized with this build after you consume that grenade, spreads the defeats with that suspend, making it unstoppable in the PvE realm. Now for me, weapons specifically, I'm going with the Ecliptic Distaff. I absolutely love this glaive, especially with that destabilizing and replenishing Aegis. We can use it in those sticky situations while things are suspended, getting close with champions, do that little bit of extra damage, Plus, we can apply that volatility with destabilizing rounds on this bad boy. Think it just pairs perfectly with Osteo as well as that necrotic grips. And then this bad boy, which is easily my favorite weapon that has come out from the Dreaming City and that ward table, is this repulsor brace destabilizing rounds regnant grenade launcher, which will give us that nice volatility as well with that repulsor brace. So all of those defeats, when we use this, we're getting that nice overshield for void with everything that is volatile, and the poison is also spreading. Not that that is giving us the repulsor brace, but the combination of volatility with that poison and that explosion is beautiful to see. Now moving on to our artifact mods. First off, we have Overload SMG for that Osteo and those champions stunning that with that Suspend. Next off, we have that Volatile Flow, so we can get that volatile rounds on our glaive as well as our heavy. Now our heavy will be able to stop those barrier champions as well with that burst, so that is also very nice. Now, next off, we're going to be using Bricks from Beyond. Defeating powerful champions with void weapons has a chance to generate heavy for us and our teammates, making this a Suspend support build even a little bit more. Plus, we have some armor mods that help as well. And finally, for me, I'm using that Medieval Glaive, so our glaive is able to stop those unstoppable champions, as well as our Suspend with this build, so it's a dual action for this glaive plus the Suspend. Now, when we move on to armor mods right here, also making this a support build is that Heavy Ammo Finder plus Scout. So when we create heavy for ourselves, we also have that chance of creating it for our allies, and then Kinetic Siphon. So all of those defeats, which we're getting with Osteo, is going to create orbs of power for us. Now moving on to the synergy of these gauntlets, the necrotic grips with this build, Grasp of the Devourer, damaging combatants with poisoning them, dealing increased damage over time, defeating a poison combatant, spreads the condition. That's why the poison from Osteo pairs very, very well with this, because not only the poison from your melee, but the poison from the gun spreads and has that nice increased damage over time, provides a benefit for airborne effectiveness for all weapons of sorrow. Not that that matters too much for this build. Now that when we move on to our mods, we're going to be using Grenade Kickstarter. So when we consume our grenade for that shackle and that Suspend, we're going to get a nice chunk of it back, about 40%. Now, when we move on to our nice armor mods with Focusing Strike, we get our class ability back a little bit faster with damaging combatants with that melee. Since we have 3 of them, we do get them back decently quick with picking up some orbs of power, and just in general having 3 gives us back our ability super fast. Next off, when we move on to our chest piece, we got Charged Up as well as Void Reserve, so we can hold more ammo for both our grenade launcher as well as our glaive. Plus, that Charged Up allows us to hold an additional stack of that armor charge, which allows us to use that Grenade Kickstarter to get back that 40% just by consuming your grenade or throwing it. Now moving on to our boots, we have 3 mods that all deal with orbs of power. So when we pick them up, we're going to get all ability cooldown from Absolution. We're going to get our melee back even faster with Invigoration, and we're going to get health regen for that end game content with Better Already. So that Invigoration is going to help us also get back those 3 melees, which we're using to get back our class ability. So you can see that nice little internal positive feedback loop with those. And last but certainly not least, we have Bomber on our class item as well as Reaper. So when we do throw down our Rift with those Threadlings proccing, we're also going to get a nice chunk of grenade energy back, as well as our next weapon defeat is going to create another orb of power via Reaper. So we're going to be able to create orbs of power literally everywhere with our Osteo Striga and that Suspend going on and Poison. All of that in the double defeats is going to give us orbs of power, as well as getting our class ability back super fast with using our melee, and especially that using the Suspend and the Thread of Mind in our Fragments is also going to give us our class ability back faster. And then on top of that, we're actually having that Thread of Generation give us our grenade back almost instantly as well with Osteo and Necrotic, that synergy of poison spreading everywhere. So it is an insane PvE build one of probably the most overpowered in the game for ad suspension and that nice ad management in general. Plus, Osteo is a very good for damage because it spreads that poison. Plus, with this Regnant here, you can craft it with some other roles as well to make it better, with like Explosive Light if you want that higher DPS. I really like it with Destabilizing, but just in general, this pairing of volatility with Osteo, the poison, necrotic grips, consuming your grenade is absolutely nasty and is so much fun to use for your Warlock. So hopefully you guys enjoy this version of this build. I know, like I said, y'all have seen it around, I'm sure, on a lot of other channels and just throughout the community, but this is my take on it, and it is so much fun to use, especially with that Starfire protocol getting nerfed in the future here. This is going to be a lot of fun to use, as well as those sun bracers, which we do got a video coming out in the future here on those. So thank you guys so much again for that support. Truly appreciate it. I'll catch y'all in the next one. Peace.